grading part 2, because there is something I did forget after doing the grading, how I actually come up with the letter grades. I don't work on a set scale. I know the school is a 10-point scale, but that would cripple most students in my class because on tests, for example, the average grade is somewhere around 50% I should say. So just please be aware that I do what is known as the clump method. If 2 grade papers, let's say it's a 120-point assignment, and somebody gets a 79 and somebody gets a 78, I really do not want to give 2 different grades to those, because the difference of 1 point could be my mood or someone distracted me as I was grading. There are a lot of reasons for why they could be off by a point that has nothing to do with the quality of work. Now, when I do grading, I try to grade all the question number 1s and all the question number 2s and then all the question number 3s. That way I try some consistency. I make notes on my grading paper so that all of the, if I take off 2 points for this on one paper, I take off 2 points for it on another. Sometimes I go back and I go, wow, I remember grading someone else's and did the same thing, but I can't remember what I took off for that, and I go back and I look. And I try to make that as even as possible. And so I have mechanisms in place to try to minimize the amount of separate grades that have nothing to do with the quality of work. But, sometimes they're mistakes, sometimes they're rushed, sometimes I got a splitting headache. I try not to grade with a splitting headache, but sometimes I have to. This is the deal. So once I have the grades, I look at the clumps, and I know I probably should have done this beforehand, but I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I'm going to show you an example of grading, hoping that I can come up with a quick example here, because otherwise I'm going to be editing this video. There we go. This is a lab for a different class, but if you look closely there, basically you've got, that's slightly better. So you see the 91, 82, 73. This was a 91-point assignment. 82 is the 90% mark. 73 is the 80% mark. 64 is the 70% mark. 55 is the, like I said, we're at 60% mark. And then on the side there, I write down the grades. So I got 85, 83, 81. Those are the raw score grades. I then look to see which ones are clumped together. Now, 83 is halfway between 81 and 85. I now have to make a decision. Should 81, 83, 85 all be the same grade? Well, I have to make a call on that one. I ultimately decided in this particular case that in 83, the mistakes made by the 83 paper were close enough to, an A quality work. 81, I thought that the mistakes made there were a couple extra mistakes that prevented the A. 79, well, 81's halfway between 83 and 79. Well, ultimately, the person who got the 79 made some additional mistakes that I thought really kept it from being the quality work that is considered an A. And then as you look down, let's see, there we go. We've got the 68 and 69 are together. They got the same grade. And so it's not a set scale. It is definitely not worse than the 10-point scale. So if you get above 90%, you're not going to get lower than an A. You might get lower than an A minus. So it's to your benefit that I do this. And so the grading scale really floats from assignment to assignment. And if you want to go by strictly by the 10-point scale, please let me know and make sure there are witnesses who do that, because, well, it's not to your advantage. But I've had many students call my grading system confusing, but no one has ever called it unfair. And so please just keep that in mind. It is trying to come up with the benefit, knowing that there's a certain arbitrariness to grades, but I try very hard to be fair on this. I do have some additional things. It used to be very difficult to hit an F in the class, even for not handing in work. So there have been changes made in order to penalize people who say disappear. And we'll talk about disappearing on a separate video. But I think that's about it for grading. Well, there'll probably be something else, but don't forget, rejoice. This is physics after all.